Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Timmy and I am a tarot reader and a musician, and this is my very first posting on YouTube. I thought I would start with some recommendations and reviews of some of the decks that I like to use because I have, as many of you probably have as well, accumulated quite a lot of them. So I would love to share with you the ones that I read with, and I am going to start with my favorite deck. It is the Wild Unknown Tarot by Krans. It's beautiful artwork. I have to say it's a deck that I was really drawn to from the second I saw it, even just the cover without looking at it. And it is really the deck that I use every single day for readings for myself, and it's the first one that I reach to if I'm doing a reading for someone else as well. So I thought maybe I would show you the major arcana as well as the minors and give you kind of a taste of what to expect. It is very different than some of the more traditional decks like the Rider-Waite. It's very animal and nature based, which is really the thing that drew me to it. So why don't we start with the major arcana. I'm assuming you're familiar with it, but all decks are split into, well, traditional tarot decks are split into 78 cards, the major arcana, which are more of like the macro scale, and that's what we will start with, and then the minor arcana. So the very first one in the major arcana is the Fool. And I love this card. It's so beautiful and really embodies that whole idea of something new and exciting and being willing to jump into anything. Next is the Magician, which is also a beautiful card and really gives you the sense of what the Magician is all about, like using tools and manifestation, but in a very regal, and I love that it's like non-gendered for the most part as well. I'm gonna go through these a little bit faster. So here's the High Priestess, Empress, Emperor, which is kind of the counterpart, Hierophant, the Lovers, which I love this card, the Geese, the Chariot, and in this deck, Justice is actually card number 8, which you can see, the 2 foxes right there. And in some decks, that is not the case. In some decks, number 8 would be Strength. So it just depends on the deck that you're using, but in this case, she's put it as Justice. The Hermit, that little turtle really symbolizes, I think, the whole idea of wanting time to yourself and getting away. Now we get into the double digits. Number 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. And it always kind of reminds me a little bit of like a dream catcher sort of thing. And here's Strength, which again, in this deck is number 11, but in many decks you'll find Strength as number 8. So you really just have to pay attention to that. And I love how Strength is shown by this tame, beautiful lion holding a rose. This is another one of my favorites, the Hanged Man. Sometimes you'll hear it called the Hanged One, but I think the bat really embodies that well. Then number 13, Death. Another beautiful card, Temperance, the Phoenix really represents that. The Devil, and again, you can see all the animal imagery is really great, and for me really speaks to what the tarot is all about, and especially in these major arcana cards. The Tower, again using nature as a lot of the times you'll see the Tower as lightning striking a building and things collapsing, but in this case it uses that beautiful nature with the tree. The Star, which is so simple and pure, but I think really really allows you to see immediately, like, oh, it's about refreshing, resetting, restoring your energy, and that's what the star is all about. The moon. We only have a couple more. The sun. Judgment. And the world, finally, number 21. And there are 22 major arcanas, which if you're a reader, you already know. But you might have noticed that the Fool, the very first one, right, doesn't actually have an actual number. It's number 0. So there are 22, but they're only numbered up to 21. So it goes 0 to 21. So that's the major arcana, and you can see that the World card is the same as the artwork on the outside of the box, and also the guidebook, which I will talk about in a couple of minutes. So that's the major arcana. They usually speak to macro level things, big life things, and they're representative of a specific archetype, right? That's what I think of the majors as, is archetypes. And then we have our 4 suits of the minor arcana, almost like in a deck of cards, right? Except the suits are a little bit different. We have Wands, which is representative of fire, right? Or magic. Cups, which is emotions, feelings, intuition. Swords, which is thinking, mental, and also the element of air. Oh, obviously cups is water. Pentacles, which is represented by earth and is all about the physical. People think money a lot of the time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And again, I think one of the reasons I wanted to start with this deck, and I really love it, is that they do a really good job. The artwork really shows kind of how you can interpret things with your intuition, and anything can mean something to you. And it doesn't necessarily, because everything, especially in Pentacles, is based in nature, it doesn't necessarily have to do with physical money. And I think that's a trap people can get caught in a lot of the time. And the imagery in this deck allows you to kind of just feel it out, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to go through every single minor arcana card, because that's a lot, because there's 4 suits. And if you want to know more, you can always check it out. But I thought I would show you my favorite cards in each suit, which are the aces, just like in a deck of playing cards. The aces, because they're also beautiful in this deck, and also the court cards, because they are very differently organized than in most traditional tarot decks. So I thought we would go through those. In each minor arcana suit, you have an ace, and then numbers 1 through 10. And then the court cards, which are usually represented by people in typical decks. You will see they are mostly animals in this one. And in a normal deck, I don't want to say normal, in a typical traditional deck, the court cards are labeled as page, prince or knight, queen, and king. Again, very similar to a deck of playing cards, but in the Wild Unknown, they are labeled in a familial structure. So daughter, which is equivalent to page, son, which is equivalent to either a knight or a prince, mother, which is represented usually by a queen, and father, which is usually the king. So I think it's really, really interesting, and you can kind of see the artwork in the cards represent those generations. Okay, so we're going to start with wands. Again, that's fire and magic, manifestation, right? So ace of wands. And you can think of aces always in whatever deck you're dealing with as like the spark of something, the beginning of a journey, right? So that's the ace. And then to the court cards, we have snakes, which I love for manifestation and magic, because they're very magical creatures. So that's daughter of wands, son of wands, mother of wands, and father of wands. And you can see in this artwork, obviously, they are traditional family roles, right? You see the mother with the eggs kind of being very protective and nurturing. The Father looks like a protector. That's pretty common in all of the court cards in this deck. But if you're a reader, you already know this. Court cards don't necessarily have genders. None of the cards actually have genders to them. So you can pull Mother of Wands and be talking about yourself as any gender, and it doesn't matter. And those attributes you're talking about, like the divine feminine and the divine masculine, not necessarily actual gender. Okay, let's move on to the cups, which again is usually represented by emotions, intuition, trusting your feelings, and the element is water. Usually you will see with Ace of Cups a beautiful chalice of some kind, which this definitely has. I've taken a lot of my inspiration as a reader from this particular card. It is my favorite. So yeah, Ace of Cups. It's beautiful, all about self-love and trusting yourself and starting on your journey, right? So the court cards, there's our Daughter of Cups. Son of Cups, right? And they're these beautiful swans. Water creatures, perfect for cups. There's the Mother of Cups. And then Father of Cups. Okay. Next is Sword. So remember that is like mental thinking, using your brain, and also the element of air, right? Almost like I think about action when I think about the sword. So there's your Ace of Swords. You can see the lightning kind of striking, illuminating, sparking an idea to start off on a journey. And then the court cards, Daughter. And I love that owls represent the court cards in this suit, right? Because you always think about owls of being these wise creatures that are always thinking, and they're very observant, right? That's so perfect for the court cards of this. Son of Swords, sorry, which would be the same as like Knight of Swords. Mother of Swords. And Father of Swords. Very regal. Okay, our last suit is Pentacles, right? I said it is earth, right? That's the element, is earth. It is all about the physical world, this 3D realm that we're all in every day. It doesn't necessarily have to be money, although it could be. Obviously, the thing that it's represents it is the pentacle, which is a type of coin. In some decks, you will see it as coins, the suit of coins. So here's our Ace of Pentacles, right? Starting with a seed that then you plant and it grows. And then for the court cards, a little fawn, which I love. I mean, so you'll see all of them are deer, and that's kind of perfect for the earth. I really think of like that type of animal as being one with the earth, right? Son of Pentacles. Mother of Pentacles with her little fawn. Again, this like very feminine energy, but remember, it doesn't have to be female, right? It can apply to you. You can embody these cards no matter what. And that beautiful stag, that Father of Pentacles. So I would encourage you to kind of pick up a deck or look into it. There's lots of great cards in all of these suits. They're just beautiful. Again, I was really, really drawn to it. It's the first deck that I reach for. I have a lot of them, as you'll see. I'll continue to post other reviews of different decks, but this is my absolute favorite. Kim Krans has other decks available as well. The Spirit Animal deck, and also the Wild Unknown Archetypes. So I'll probably do those at some point. If you are new to reading and you don't do everything just by sight or intuitively, like most decks do, this comes with a guidebook. And it is a very nice one, I do have to say, if you use them. And it's always just nice to look through if you're trying to show people the artwork, right? You can see It has, for every card, whether it's major arcana or minor arcana, a nice large picture of the card so you can see it, as well as a fairly decent description. By decent, I mean like at least a paragraph on it, sometimes more, which is great. Like if you're just getting started, it's super helpful to kind of like look back, or even if you don't remember a card and you want some insight on it, you can always go back to the guidebook. Eventually, I would always encourage you to kind of go with your intuition and what the cards mean specifically to you. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't, right? And there's also, in the beginning of the book, a little spiel about like the major and the minor arcana, what they mean. So if you're first getting into it, that's super helpful. It goes through a whole thing about the suits, like I mentioned to you before. And the court cards also, it gives you a little thing about that. And then some ideas about how to get started reading, how to shuffle your deck. And then really great, I think, is some examples of common spreads that you can do. And I think a lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm going to do a spread, I have to do the huge 10-card Celtic Cross or whatever. But you really, really don't. There's as simple as like picking one card per day and saying like, what does the universe want me to think about today? To a 3-card spread, past, present, future, that helps with decision making also. To some relationship spreads and some longer ones as well. It does have the Celtic Cross spread in here. And if you're not familiar with them, it's really nice to just have it as a guide for what you're pulling and what everything means. And it even has a 13-card year ahead spread as well. So I think all in all, it's an amazing deck. But also just very helpful, I think, if you're just beginning and you really want kind of the visuals and some explanations. So I can't speak highly enough about it. It's my absolute favorite. I hope you enjoyed my video. You can find me on www.aceofcupsreadings.com. I have appointments available there, and I'll be back soon with more videos and deck reviews to share. Bye.